Today we take a look at the newest card to enter into Marvel Snap. Will it rise high into the sky, or will it fall deep into a well? Find out what's going on as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So we got a brand new week, and that means we get a brand new card. This time around we are talking about Kahhori. Kahhori is a young Mohawk woman. As she grew up, she heard stories of a forbidden lake which was located in a mountain, but was deserted because of a war between the tribes that took place long ago. She wanted to visit the lake and searched every place until she found a hidden cave with a blue light glowing throughout it. She wanted to show her tribe, but lost her footing. This caused her to fall. As she sunk, the Tesseract at the bottom of the lake transported her to the sky world. Kahhori woke up to see a brand new land, and when her hand scratched the soil, it produced blue energy. She then got up and saw the portal that she had come from and instantly checked her body, only to see it was completely healed, as if nothing had happened from her fall. She met the sky people who told her that she fell into a paradise where she was welcome to stay, and if she did, she would not age or die. She thanked them for their generosity, but stated that she would rather go home. Kahhori emerged from the lake and immediately charged to her village, only to see that it was burnt to the ground. She ran to the shore and found many a conquistador there. The waters from the lake then took hold of her, and she could feel power coursing through her. Using this new power, she managed to save her people from the Spanish Empire, and then went overseas to confront Queen Elizabeth herself and make an ultimatum: peace, or there would be no more Spain. Kahhori is easily excited and fascinated with the forbidden and is willing enough to try it. She will try everything possible to solve a problem. She is protective of the ones she cares about. She will always be willing to try to talk things out or use intimidation as a way to solve a problem, as she continues to try to save any person no matter their morality. This should be seen as a great way for a foe to apologize, as if that failed, she will seek vengeance and grow even more angry until justice is served. Kahhori is enhanced with the power cosmic, giving her immortality, superhuman strength, durability, speed, agility, stamina, reflexes, a regenerative healing factor, and she can levitate off the ground. She can manipulate energy to form things such as a force field or portals, and will use her telekinesis to levitate people up as an intimidation factor. However, she is no pacifist and will use her powers to attack others with energy blasts or by turning stones into projectiles. Kahhori fell into a Tesseract imbued with water and gained superhuman powers from the sky world that she uses to help her people. This is represented in Marvel Snap, as she will give each of your tribe members a bit of power based on what is in your hand that she feels is the sky above her. So Marvel Snap, what this character does is it is a 4 cost, 6 power, with the description of on reveal that she will give +1 power to each. So I should say that correctly. Hang on. Her power is that she'll get +1 power to any card on the field based on how many cards are in your hand. So if you have 1 card on the field, she'll give 1 power to it if you have 1 card in your hand. If you have 1 card on the field, she'll give 2 power to it if you got 2 cards in your hand. If you have 2 cards on the field and you got 2 cards in her hand, she could give 1 power to 1 card, 1 power to the other card, or give 2 power to 1 card and 0 power to the other card. It's a pretty easy card to understand and pretty complicated at the same time. And after going through her, unfortunately, she comes in at about a 2-star for me. Now let me explain why she ended up so low on the ranking. So a lot of people have talked pretty highly about this card. And the main problem that I find with her is she really doesn't have a good way of interacting with anything. With how her power works, even though she comes in pretty high, her power really doesn't affect a lot. If you are only Series 3 complete, the only card that really gets any help out of her would be the Iron Man. The cards that you kind of want to have her work with is Sebastian Shaw. It's the only card that really works with her. Another card that would come close to that would be the Dakin. Because if you can destroy the blade with this, it doubles the power. So if you get a point on him, when you destroy the blade, that point becomes 2. But there's very few cards that work around her. The card, again, that everybody is going to be talking about is the Iron Man, because, again, every point that you can throw on the Iron Man is 2 points on him without doing anything else. Or Sebastian Shaw, because if you throw a point on Sebastian Shaw, he gets a power-up because each point is considered 1 permanent buff on her. Now, if you were to look at this card basically just as a power spike, it's about a 4/6, which is basically about the same power spike as Moonstone, and she has about a similar power ability as Moonstone. Because the problem that you kind of run with her is you gotta kind of have a decently full hand, which isn't a bad problem when you start running the stuff like agent cards. But you also need to get her out as quickly as possible. Which just means that you'll want to try to run stuff like Zabu or possibly Psylocke. And here's the problem when you run something like even Psylocke or Zabu. Once you put her down on 4, if you even just have 2 cards down, let's say you did Zabu on 1 and you did Colossus on 2. Well, then she comes down on 4, which is 3 at that point, and she can give all of her power to Zabu, or she can give all the power to Colossus, or she can split 50-50. And the problem that you sometimes run into that with is when you have a card like, for example, let's say your first location is Central Park and you get all the squirrels. Or your opponent throws a green goblin at you. Well, as good as it is for you to have power to give to a green goblin or a squirrel, that's not quite what you're trying to win with this particular card. If you're to look at her basically as a power spike, she basically falls close to how Ironheart works, and nobody uses Ironheart. So if you're trying to buff up your deck, and you only have 3 cards down on your deck, you're almost better off of Ironheart. The only time this becomes better is when there's 4 cards on the deck, and for it to be better than 4 cards on your deck, you basically still need to have a full hand of 6, because this is still doing 6 power. Ironheart is still doing 6 power, I should say. And if you have more than 4 cards on your deck, and you're taking all 6 of that power and you're dividing it evenly as you can, each card is maybe getting 1, maybe 2 power at the most. And is that going to be enough for you to really win a location? There is this kind of weird deck that I kind of want to make with her if I do get her, which is based around the Colossus. Where basically you play the Colossus on 2, and then you basically wait until your hand is full. And you put her down at that point, and then you give the Colossus all 6 points of power, making the Colossus go up to 2-9, and then you basically play the Symbiote Spider-Man on turn 5, and then you basically copy it with something. I'm not sure if that's going to be good, bad, or ugly. It just seems something interesting. One of the biggest problems that she runs into is the biggest problem that all fours are falling into at this particular point. Which is just that 410 is now almost a new baseline. When you see something that's 4, you want to basically get 10 points of power. It's getting harder and harder to slide in anything that's not giving you a big power spike on 4 or doing a big power spike on 4, and this really isn't doing a lot of that. I will give the caveat that this does work well with long, since it is an auto reveal. The problem is because it is an auto reveal, it has all the other problems that come with long-like effects. First of all, stuff like Cosmo can stop you. Second of all, if something gets too powerful, then your Shaw and Cheese can stop you. And since it's how the power spike works, stuff like Shadow King and Red Guardian can also stop your cards. Since you're putting a lot of stuff in her hand, if you have the Victoria hand, that'll be a good card for her, as first of all, she'll give a card back to you so you can get more power off of her, and secondly, she'll make everything in your hand a little cheaper. So, all in all, I don't really understand where she's supposed to work with, what cards she's supposed to really help. Yes, I do get Sebastian Shaw works. And that's a neat little combo to make with her. But there really aren't enough cards for you to make an entire deck around just that small little combo. Now, maybe in the future, they'll make more cards that get better when they get a 1 point buff on them. But right now, since Sebastian Shaw's the only one that really works with it, that's really hard to go into because no one's playing Sebastian Shaw. And she's not low enough to be thrown in a Silver Surfer deck because she falls at 4 instead of 3. Which is really hard to say because technically she's a 4.12 card. So by her coming out, if you got a full hand, you're doing 12 points of power by putting her down. And that's also where the problem lies, is she will, unless you're playing long, she'll never be more than 6 points of power that she can give to your board. And that kind of gives her a ceiling that she can't break through. I don't think she's bad per se, I just don't know what card she's basically buffing up that you couldn't find something else to do with. I do like the fact that it comes after the card is down so you can see what's on your board and then do it the same way that Ironheart works. But it just seems like it's too random because the last thing that I want to do is throw points onto either a green goblin that my opponent gave to me, or one of the things that I also didn't like about this card is, let's say I do have a lane that I'm winning high on. I do have the Cold City lane that I already have 10 points on. My opponent might not contest that lane, might not want that lane, might not care about that lane. But because of how the card works with Kahhori, she could give me more points into that lane, which is nice if I need to win that by a few extra points. But if I'm already gonna blow out on that lane, those points aren't gonna help me. Winning by 2 is the same as winning by 20 in a lane. And because you can't really choose where the points go, you gotta roll that wheel every single time. And is when you play it, the wheel's always going to roll bad for you, and whenever your opponent rolls it, it's going to go on their perfect card every single time with all the buffs somehow. Because that's one of the things I truly don't know how it will work. If you have 4 cards, can it give all 4 points to one single card, or will it try to split it up as evenly as possible? And without knowing that, and without having the reliability of that, it's hard to use that RNG in a game. Alright, besides Kahhori this week, we do have Cold Obsidian. Cold Obsidian is basically one of, if not the best 4 drops in the world. You have any one on turn 1, or any 1 drop on turn 2. you play the Obsidian for, you get the 10 points. Even if your opponent plays a Killmonger, they have to play it by turn 3 or your Obsidian's just going to come out and laugh. And he's got the neat little side factor of on turn 5, you could play your 1-drop and then play Obsidian right on top of it and get that quick swing that happens right at the end. The other card that we have is Hydra Bob, Hydration Robert as he's sometimes referred to. He's not a bad card, he's not a great card, and the only reason that he's not super powerful is just because he has the 1-drop syndrome of anytime you start to play him and start to do well with him, somehow, some way, without trying, every single opponent that you face from that point on has a Killmonger, even if their deck makes no sense to run a Killmonger. All in all, this isn't a bad week. I don't think any card in here is really bad, per se. I know I gave Kahhori a low score. I don't think she's bad. I just don't know what card she's meant to work with. We're getting that spike that makes sense when we're playing a lot of other cards that you can replace her with, I should say. But this week's a pretty decent week to roll on. Just be cautious, as we still don't know what's going to happen when the packs come around, what stuff's going to look like. And if you are missing a lot of cards, now's a perfect time to roll. If this is completely empty for you, now's a perfect time to roll. But if you are only missing Kahhori, you might be better off waiting for the packs. I also roll because this is how I make content, so let's find out what's inside our box. Box says Hydration Robert. So I'll be making a deck with Hydra Bob this coming Friday. If you want to watch me do that, I'll be doing that on Twitch TV on Annabelle_Fleetwood. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.